Hi everyone, I'm Jess, and I know what you're all thinking. Oh my god, wow, a new video. Do you even remember how to make these? It's been so long. First of all, how dare you? Second of all, probably, I don't know. But let's find out. So, I hope you're all doing well. I've been doing pretty alright in, what is it now, like something like 8 months since I uploaded something. I got COVID twice, which was awful both times. Definitely much worse the first time. I actually picked it up at a festival. It was the penultimate festival of that summer, so very unfortunate that I didn't make it all the way through without getting it. So that was fun. The second time, I have no idea where I got it from. I just picked it up from the shop, genuinely, I think, which is mad to me because I was wearing my mask still, I was avoiding everyone, I was coming home, diligently washing all my hands, like I have more than two. Yeah, I just still got COVID that second time anyway. So that's been great. I've been diagnosed with ADHD, which I can't remember if I talked about on the channel yet, because of the ADHD. Maybe I did talk about that before, maybe I didn't. I'm probably going to talk about that a little bit more coming up. For me, more than anything, along with this whole journey with my transition, it's just been really nice to figure out some stuff about myself, and to know that there are certain parts of the way that I am that are just, yeah, that's you being very ADHD. Work-wise though, it's been going really well. I'm in the middle of a very big project that's been going on for months now, but is the single biggest thing that I've ever done in my career, and is likely to be one of the biggest things I will ever do in my career. There's been a lot of pressure there to get that right. It's meant a lot of being careful and methodical with the way that I'm working, because there is a lot of scope for this to become a disaster, and I would quite like my working life not to be a disaster, so I'm gonna just do it right the first time. But it's been a very interesting journey. I wish I could talk more about that one in particular, but it's sort of where it's all in development and it's for an upcoming series of things that we're trying to do this summer. I'm not going to talk about that. I'll talk about that later when it's all done and we've done it publicly. Not that I think that the silent disco industry is hanging on my personal every word to get any sort of secret clue about what it is that we're doing at Silent Disco King. But, you know, it just seems unprofessional too. I've been working with some cool technologies in some interesting ways. It's a combination of a lot of different things that I've been doing professionally for the last few years. It's drawing together as well so many of the separate threads from a lot of my previous projects that were laying the groundwork and setting us up to be able to even attempt this project. So it's amazing to see all of those little threads get neatly tied together and start being drawn into this one big deal, that none of it could have happened without doing all those other smaller bits first. I'm rambling about that a little bit, but it's genuinely because I'm incredibly proud of that work, and I am so proud of myself for having been able to get even this far with it, and I've got a long way to go, but I'm pretty sure that I can do it. That's a nice self-confidence to have in myself. And yeah, very proud of that. Aside from work, I've had a few ups and downs with my transition and my medication. Big, huge win for me was that a few months ago, I was finally able to get on a shared care agreement with my GP. My GP are now taking the recommendations of my private provider, Gender GP, and they're taking their treatment plan. And instead of Gender GP sending that treatment plan to an online chemist for me to go online and pay out of pocket personally the full price for those medications, they're sending that list of drugs over to my GP, who signs off on the prescription and allows me to collect it on the NHS. One of the ways in which that has impacted me massively is that it has reduced my monthly costs right down. For anyone who is outside the UK and is unfamiliar with how our healthcare system works, when you collect your prescription, you do pay a flat fee to collect that prescription. I think it's, let me Google that right now. Prescription charges UK 2022. Here's a result from the web. Yeah, thanks Google. I already Googled it. You didn't need to do that as well. So, according to this, for prescriptions dispensed in April 2022, the NHS prescription charges are £9.35 per item. So, if you are issued 3 items a month, you would go and you would pay £9.35 for each of those 3 items. 3 times £9.35. If you have a prepayment certificate, you can pay a flat monthly fee, which is sort of the all-you-can-eat of the prescription world, where you pay once at the beginning of the month and all of the items that you collect are covered by that certificate. This works out way cheaper if you're getting more than one item. I know that there are some people out there who don't have regular prescriptions at all. I sort of envy you guys' life who might end up with one prescription collected a month, and that's like one item. Cool, great for you. You save like 75p, I think it is, by not having a PPC. But yeah, as soon as you get that second one, just get a PPC. It's definitely cheaper. So for me, I collect my patches, my spironolactone, I get finasteride, progesterone, my ADHD meds, which are 2 items, as well as there's another one that I'm forgetting. An additional one. So that would be, 6 items, but it's still all covered under that. I think it's £10.50 I'm paying a month. So that has been a massive, massive reduction. It's reduced my bills for all of my healthcare to £10 a month instead of 120 I think I was paying previously, which is huge. It's been so great. I'm gonna keep gushing about this because this has probably been the single most impactful event in my transition from a healthcare perspective so far. Starting from DIY, moving to gender GP, like it was very much of the same. I saved a little bit of money, but not a significant amount. Whereas this, now I get my bloods covered by the NHS and I get my prescriptions covered by the NHS, and it is so much less of a worry. I have my items on a repeat prescription, so I can just go on the NHS app when I'm running low, instead of having to be submitted, signed off, sent to a pharmacy, ordered from the pharmacy, and delivered to me. I can pretty much within a couple of days go and just pick it up straight away and not have to pay any money for it. And it's such a weight off my mind. On the flip side though, one of the downsides lately is that there is a massive gel shortage. So when I was listing my meds, I said patches. I've gone from oral estradiol in tablet form to gel form. It looks and smells and feels exactly like alcohol-based hand sanitizer, and you just had to use a lot of it. My dosage was quite high. It was uncomfortable and annoying, but it was a lot better than the tablets, so I was putting up with it. But lately, there's been a shortage. There's been some changes in the UK to allow cis women to get HRT over the counter without a prescription for treating the symptoms of menopause. And this has resulted in a huge uptick in estrogen consumption in the UK. So, of course, we were not really prepared for it, and there was a massive immediate shortage. I wasn't able to get my hands on the gel at all for a long time, which has been a stressful last couple of months trying to get hold of this gel. I'm now switched to patches, so that has gone a long way to mitigating that. Although, unfortunately, a lot of people are also switching to patches, so that's probably going to maybe be an issue in the future as well, because everyone wants all that estrogen and there's only a limited amount to go around apparently. These are what I'm on now. I have to wear 4 of these, just at all times, and I change them every Sunday and Thursday. So they take up a lot of space on my thighs, which I wasn't really expecting or prepared to deal with. Gotta get the estrogen from somewhere, and this is better than not having any, so I'm not going to complain too much on this one. It's just new. It's a relatively recent change. I've been only on those for 3 days at the time of filming this. This is the first patch change that I did this morning. It's way too soon to be able to know what any long-term impact if this is going to be. Some people find that they immediately start seeing better results from patches, that maybe I'll not see that and go back to gel once it's available. As a quick mention, I finally got myself a nicer pill organizer, which seems like a super lame thing to get excited about, but when you take as many drugs as I do, it actually becomes quite important and quite novel how you keep and organize them and set yourself out for the week. So again, I like these ones that come with the individual strips, so you can do them day by day. When you're going somewhere, you can just take the amount of days that you need, and you don't have this big tray that looks like one of those workshop toolboxes with a million tiny flaps, because I know for a fact I'm going to drop that and they're going to go everywhere. These are slightly nicer than my old ones. They have a full-on sliding clear cover, I literally just dropped a whole bunch of pills there, so that's great. Why would you open it upside down? But they have a sliding clear cover that completely covers all of the top. So unlike the ones I had before that had a little window for each compartment, which sometimes opened in my bag and would just leave drugs rolling around the bottom of my bag, these are much better at keeping everything in when you don't open them upside down on camera. I'm actually going to have to try and find those now because I will need to take those later. So while it's all settled now and stock is apparently starting to come back in, I genuinely wasn't really expecting that estrogen was going to be harder to get hold of than an RTX 3080. Speaking of which, what a wonderful segue. I have a brand new computer because I wanted one. And I have poor impulse control. This is Asteria. Here are the specifications floating up on the screen at the moment. The computer that I've upgraded from was actually built in late 2014, early 2015, around the time that I started making YouTube videos for the very first time. I do a lot of intense computing. I do 3D graphic design, I do audio and video processing. I mean, I game a lot as well, which is also a consideration. I'm one of those people who will absolutely be pushing every last drop of power out of their system. So, served me very, very well, lasted a long time, but was really just starting to reach the end. But it's not just computers that I do like other things as well. And here's some stuff that I've enjoyed lately that I wanted to talk with some other people about and recommend it to and say, hey, you should watch this thing. So first off, Severance. Severance was really, really good. I went into it quite just not knowing really much about it, didn't know much of the plot synopsis, didn't know what it was going to be like. Just grabbed me immediately from the style and the way that everything looked. I was very hooked on the idea and really, really glad to see that there was a really great show behind it as well. There was a very compelling story. There's quite a lot of mystery that gets resolved in a satisfactory way, but also leaves you with a whole lot of questions, and season 2 is just can't come soon enough. I'm so excited for it. Genuinely one of the best TV series I've watched in a long time. As well as that, I recently watched through Russian Doll season 2, which I was initially on the fence about it needing to exist. I thought the Russian Doll one was really good and that it was quite self-contained. I didn't come out of that going, you know what, I want to see more seasons from this exact thing. And when I heard that season 2 was coming out, I was, cool, it's a show that I like. I like this show. I'll watch more of this show. Quite honestly, going into it, I didn't really know how they were going to approach the story. Is she just going to have the same sort of things that happened to her in season 1 happen to her again, but in a new scenario, in a different place, in a different way? And no, they went somewhere really quite different in terms of concept with it, but it all still felt very thematically similar. I don't think anyone looking at season 2 who's watched it all the way through would say this is 100% an entirely different show from season 1, even though the core premise of what's occurring, I'm trying to be really spoiler free here, is completely different. If you were to look at the two synopses of the two shows, you probably wouldn't necessarily go, right, yeah, that's season 1 and season 2 of the same thing. And I think that was 100% the best way to take this. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Just really cool. Binge watched it all the way through and loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Everyone should give it a shot. So both of those shows have had quite a lot of mystery going on, where there's a lot of questions that aren't fully explained to you until, later on and stuff. And on that theme, I would like to recommend a game called Tunic. Again, one of these things that I've picked up with knowing very, very little about, and again, very, very much the better for it. On the surface, it's an adorable looking game that I had some fun doing a brief stream on that looks very cute. And I'm like, hey, cool, this is kind of nice. I like the vibe. But oh my god, there's so much to that game that it doesn't tell you, that you have to work out on your own. And there were a lot of moments of true, oh my god, I've worked something out. There was a very satisfying feeling to figuring out, basic game mechanics that in other games would be a menu saying, hey, press B to do this thing. Whereas even stuff like that is obscured from you, and you have an in-game manual that you're finding pages for, and every page fills you in more about what's going on with the story, or introduces more bits of the mystery, or tells you about a new concept that was always there and you would have always been able to do, and you might have been able to work out by yourself, but now you're receiving a page that has a little bit more of a clearer hint on it, and maybe you can use that thing in multiple ways, whatever that power or ability. Or it's very hard to describe without giving stuff away, and I think that this is a game that I wish I hadn't streamed, in all honesty. I think that it is something that people are very much better experiencing by themselves, and going through that whole process and immersing themselves in the world, just having that feeling for themselves of finding it out. What's the answer? There are some great puzzles in there. Just a really unique experience that isn't really like anything else I've ever played. Mechanically, people say it is a lot like Dark Souls, and it's a sort of Souls-like dressed up in very sort of cute and colorful colors. And sure, you can totally play it like that, and there are a lot of hard fights in that game, but there's actually also some very good accessibility options that you can turn on at any time that make it unlimited stamina, or you can't die and you can't fail fights. So I did get to a point in that game where I just wasn't good enough at playing it to beat the bosses that I was fighting. There was this very intense series of fights in a particular location late in the game that I just couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it, and I got to that point with it where I started to struggle and not have fun anymore. So I just went into the menu and turned this option on, and was able to clear that section, turn it back off with no penalty to my save, no penalty to my achievements, to just continue to play through the game, which for me at that point was all I really wanted to do. I wanted to conclude the story more than I wanted to sit stuck at a boss fight for 3 days. So very much recommend it. If you do get stuck, just turn that on. Just turn that on and continue to have fun, because it's worth it. I think it was one of the best games I've ever played. So I did stream some of that. Am I a streamer now? No, absolutely not. It's not something that I'm like, yeah, this is what I do now, despite the way all this looks very, wow, Jess is getting on that streamer aesthetic. No, I mean, I have a Twitch channel. You should absolutely subscribe and follow me on Twitch and know when I go live and come say hey, because I'm trying to do that a little bit more, but only as a form of fun. To be honest, I've been doing it a lot did a couple of Tunic streams and DJing. I wouldn't proclaim to be a superstar DJ by any means, but it is something that I've had a bit of an interest in for probably about 10 years now. I picked up a very cheap, very bad DJ controller from when I was working in an electronics store, probably an uncomfortable amount of years ago now, 14 maybe. Oh God. It was something I had a lot of fun with, but the technology had moved on a lot since then. So I now have a new modern update to that controller. I have a DDJ 800 from Pioneer. I've had a lot of fun really polishing up where my skills were at, because while I had a lot of the fundamentals and concepts down, I was using really rubbish equipment. And while gear isn't everything, it was really at the point where it was holding me back. The jog wheels were probably this kind of size, and going to a much larger size jog wheel has really made a huge difference to how much more pleasing that is to use. And it's been a lot of fun. So maybe you'll catch me doing some of that. I mix it up when it comes to the music, quite a lot of sort of dance music, but also some pop punk or some retro throwbacky type stuff as well, just whatever I'm feeling. Just something that I'm doing every now and again, and maybe you want to come check it out too. I've still been interested in hardware design. I know that in my last video I talked a bit about wanting to share with you the process of designing and building the keyboard that I made. The reason I haven't done that, surprisingly, is not my ADHD making it really hard to start a project. It was because I ordered some parts in March of last year and they're still not here yet. So I never really finished that. Anyway, I keep getting off track and talking about a million things when I was trying to wrap it up. Really, I'm doing great. Everything is pretty cool when it comes to my life right now. I'm having a lot of fun with the projects that I'm working on, my job. I'm writing code, I'm fixing problems and designing products. I'm making hardware devices to do specific things. I've made music. I made 2 tracks of music that aren't very good, but I'm so proud of them anyway. I've been doing 3D design and streams, and I've just had my fingers in so many different pies. It's exactly what I like to do to keep myself feeling just like busy and learning new things. It's been genuinely great, and yeah, I'm really good. So thanks for coming and checking out my update and seeing what I've been up to. It's been a blast trying to summarize all of the crazy stuff that I've been involved in into this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see sporadic videos from an internet weirdo with ADHD and too many hobbies.